to 155, a podcast about songs that have punk in the title, that are sometimes punk songs and sometimes aren't. I'm Josiah Hughes.
And I'm Sam Sutherland, and this week we're talking about a song with punk in the title that is called Summerholidays versus P-U-N-K. That's right, Punk Routine. Josiah, you and I have danced around talking about Refused for, I feel like, the entirety of our public relationship. This is an opportunity for you to admit that you've been playing some sort of long con, that there's no way that you think that Refused is actually bad and annoying, and that you recognize that they are quite sick and that the song absolutely rocks. Josiah, reveal your true form.
I'm trying to, if we had done this 3 years ago, I would have been spicing up, ready to go, just ready to fucking lay into these chumps. But
this is boring.
This week, I looked past my block and I saw the Eve 6 guy was trying to come for some of my friends, and that was pissing me off on Twitter. And then I started looking through his feed, and I was looking elsewhere. I was seeing some other I don't know, I don't want to name names, but in his replies, a certain nihilist Arby's guy was having some tepid hot takes. And, I was looking around. I seen I think I saw the guy from what's that gaslighting band called? The Gaslight guys.
The Gaslight guys, yeah.
The guy from the Gaslight guys was trying to have some fucking hot take. I just feel like I'm so, and this is probably the most infuriating thing I could say on this podcast in particular, I'm so tired of the hot takes about things that I'm just like, listening to this song right now, it's like,
shut down the Patreon now, eh?
It's like, you know what? This is fucking fine. I don't know, whatever. It's fine. But I think that's actually a healthier place for me to be, where I can really dig into my tumultuous relationship with the music of Refused. And so to start off, though, I will say, this is one of the least annoying songs on the album to me. And I think it's a little bit too long, but I at least like that there's some vibes to it. And It doesn't particularly sound it doesn't sound like a jock jam like some of the others. I still think Refuse is pretty embarrassing, and it probably would have been cool if they would have actually died with this album, or even before. They probably must have like a good EP that came out before they signed to Epitaph and became so. I think they're just too epic is the problem, you know?
Yeah, the stuff before this, they were ripping off bands that I don't like as much. Like, this is where Refuse sort of like stealing from people, I think, comes to a perfect head. But I do want to say that I think in the context, like, Refused is a band that demands hot takes. The title of this album is one that just sort of like got spit out into the sort of tepid waters, this is basically what you're expressing, of 1998, and that continues to be somehow like medium article fodder for people who just want to think extremely literally about whether or not it was the shape of punk to come. It was not. The band is pretentious. The band didn't know what they were doing, you know?
Yeah,
it's this is like literally a perpetual take machine of an album, and you're coming in here just like everything's chill. I'm Josiah. Like, you start smoking weed.
I know.
I
just hate takes now. I just think takes are the worst, and so things that are like fodder for takes, like where I feel like I'm being baited into having some kind of take, I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. But I'm sure I'm still going to be really mean to Refuse, and in particular to Refused fans. So that's fine.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, like I think ultimately, in terms of being pretentious, I think being pretentious is wonderful. And I think that being a band that comes out and says, fuck you all, we're the sickest, that's wonderful. And I think a lot of these things are great about Refuse, but I think the problem is just their fans for the last however many, 20 years or something. I think the problem is that, well, I'll just say it right off the bat. So before Refuse, I think the go-to reference to try so transparently to show that you were a real head was to say that you were into Fugazi. And that was kind of like the normie dog whistle. And then I think Refused became the normie dog whistle because it was called The Shape of Punk to Come, and it has like it's ripping off a jazz album, and the cover is like, it was so of the zeitgeist. And I think why I didn't like it when I was a kid was because I was listening to like the cooler things just by virtue of like the people I knew and the shows I went to. But I felt like I was listening to things that were one step cooler, and this kind of like crystallized a moment and made it so that normies would know about it and made it into like video game soundtrack music. So that's why I didn't like it, because to me, like March on Electric Children by Blood Brothers, or like, you know, Red Light Sting, the WPP, all the like white belt kind of shit, Mark McCoy's bands and LaShock and all that kind of stuff, GSL stuff. That was all like the same aesthetic and the same vibe. And then these guys signed to Epitaph and did that, and we're like, yeah, we're the shape of punk to come. And then like the fodder you're describing for the next 20 years, well, this became the reference point for like Mark Hoppus types in interviews to seem like they were true heads, to name drop this thing because it's so it's like a Verve jazz compilation. It like reminds me of like someone I know that I won't name, who's like really pretentious and embarrassing, who really started getting into jazz a few years ago and would just tweet about like listening to Miles Davis kind of blue, and it's just like seems almost so disrespectful.
Like first jazz records.
Yeah, it's like this is like a Starbucks CD of post-hardcore. So that's why. And then that other thing that I was saying about like it being the normie dog whistle, like it's even reminding me of how 2 years ago or whatever I was so excited about 100 Gex, and now I can't listen to it anymore because I just think of like fucking dorks still to this day, like humble bragging, like I can't believe I'm listening to this shit. And I remember that was the criticism from people of the nation lodged at them when they first came out, and I was like, oh whatever, but the songs are so good. But it's totally happened to me, like I can't listen to it anymore because I just think of like fucking dorks who use that as their like I'm interesting reference point. So for me, it's as with anything else, it's all contextual. But so this album to me sounds like all the stuff I was into when I was a teen, but it sounds like kind of the big normie hockey game soundtrack sellout version of that. But I think since the last time I really interrogated this music, I didn't love normie sellout music as much as I do now. So in terms of Refuse being like the Greta Van Fleet of post-hardcore, I love them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's what I realized is we're kind of coming around to like their Imagine Dragons, but you know, just ripping off Nation of Ulysses.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not so bad, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting that what you're describing is, I feel like classic gatekeeping, both like you as a gatekeeper, but also being gate kept, and like where that, you know, creates value. Because people can sign up for the 150 on Patreon and become a gatekeeper. I don't know if you realize that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, it's so interesting. You know, so for $5 a month, you would get exclusives every Tuesday. You get the full episode a few days earlier than the normies. You get a newsletter. You get pod Discord access. And so that's, I think, good gatekeeping. But what you're describing is the sort of very complicated gatekeeping that exists in punk. And what's so interesting about your experience with this band and it being like kind of like the normie flag you fly to show that you're down is that I would love to be able to, and I could not, in prepping for this episode, pinpoint the moment at which that happened. Because, like, everyone who has heard of Refuse, I think, is very familiar with the story of the sort of, I would call it the rise and fall of this band, but it's kind of just a fall and then a crash, and then this, like, rising like a phoenix from the ashes that happens. But, like, in 1998, when this album came out, you and I weren't listening to cooler bands. Like, I was listening to fucking, you know, Radiohead and probably still a lot of Starlight Express. And 50% of that has kind of stayed the same. You know, it is the way that this sort of, like, gained momentum over the years. Like, I remember seeing the New Noise video on Much Loud, like, super late one night when they would, like, play all the heavy videos in a block at, like, 1 a.m. or whatever, and being like, this is the fucking coolest thing I've ever heard, and then asking for the CD for Christmas. So, like, I got this as a Christmas present from my mom when I was in, like, grade probably 9 or 10, which I think is the perfect time to hear this record, because it's, like, Adbusters lyrics. It's sort of a dumbed-down version of a lot of, like, more esoteric hardcore and post-hardcore. And to your point, like, I don't know if you called it, you didn't really call it sellout music, but it is so big and so cleanly produced. Like, the bands that people always compare Refuse to and sort of say that they ripped off, like, obviously Ink and Dagger and Nation of Ulysses sort of being the two big ones. I couldn't listen to those fucking bands in grade 10. But that's also the gatekeeping part of this band, is that it was like, oh, you like Refused, you're down. But then if you liked Refused, you were not down because you actually should have been into Ink and Dagger. Like, I feel like this band is actually like the perfect distillation of a lot of the nonsense around punk culture and gatekeeping that you and I have been talking about for these many years, because it was like, it's a signal, and then it's actually a signal that you're a poser, and I don't even know what it stands for anymore. Like, now I guess it just stands for, like, cyberpunk
soundtrack.
2077. Yeah.
Well,
Realizing that there have been two bad Refused albums since they reunited was actually a discovery for me today.
Well, did you see this tour poster that they did a couple years ago, right before COVID, when they toured with Mets and Youth Code? And it's like,
oh no,
it's like this gradient, like terrible tattoo flash art ass drawing of Donald Trump dressed as Gigi Allen with Dennis Lixon at the top, like an angel. Like, it's just so fucking. It's just embarrassing as hell.
Baseball heads, because I guess it's like America, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's maybe they really were stealing. Because when you start like looking into how much they ripped off Nation and Ink and Dagger, there was one of the many articles that I found that was like just mad, like a guy 10 years older than us being mad at Refused. Literally references the Discord bio for Nation of Ulysses, which is like still up on the Discord Records website, where it's like Nation of Ulysses, like every band that ripped them off and stole their look, their political ideology, and their sound is a milquetoast copy. And you're like, I actually do think, like, it feels like Discord is like sub-bioing Refused
right.
in their advertising copy for Nation of Ulysses, which I kind of think is tight.
Yeah.
You know, did you ever get into that band though? Like, were you ever into Nation of Ulysses at all?
I was never really into them, but this is from a time when, like, it did matter what CDs you owned and what you bought and everything. And actually, now that we never pay attention to dates or like when things came out, but information or facts, because it's more of a vibe and subjective. It's more of a subjective vibe. Facts is what we go by.
But here's the thing: vibes are facts. It's just like no one wants to acknowledge it.
It's true, especially our vibes. The thing is, this album does actually predate most of the stuff that I loved. So the influence of it is clear, and I just never really paid attention to that because I kind of feel like the Refused album didn't really, like you were saying, and it is hard to figure out when, but it did seem like it probably took a while for it to really like seep into and become like the hyperbolic, this is the greatest punk album of all time. But to answer your question, I didn't really like Nation of Ulysses, and I don't want to say that I was always right by thinking someone was annoying when they are later, allegedly canceled. But never really loved Insvidovanias.
In even prepping for this, I couldn't really remember, and there's no controversies tab on his Wikipedia, so I was like, maybe I'm misremembering that, but okay.
I feel like there's something. Anyways.
It's out there. Okay,
there's something.
I got it.
But, I never really got into those bands, but all the bands that those bands influenced were like my formative punk bands. I always talk about the WPP, formerly the Witness Protection Program. That I think that Refused is in their wheelhouse of references, and another in their wheelhouse of references is Rye Coalition, who this album cover is stolen from their 7-inch as well. I don't know. If you saw that.
I don't even think I realized that.
Yeah, I was trying to find and it seems like no one cares, but the album cover is definitely exactly the same. Like, I guess I'll just put it on for a second and then watch together so you can look at it. But it's like the exact same layout and everything.
Oh, damn. Yeah, because it's definitely like a bit of a time and an aesthetic, but what I'm looking at right now is basically just exactly the Refused cover.
Which they're both a ripoff of a Dan Terry record from 1954. So they are both a ripoff of a jazz record. Theoretically, like, kind of the same, that was in the air to rip off jazz records and pretend you know about situationist guide to board theory and all that kind of shit. But it's the same genre of music, too. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Refused, they kind of feel like an industry plant in a way, but that makes me like them more, not less.
So by the end of this, you're going to love them, and I'm going to be like, I'm not sure. But something I didn't realize is, like, I always just assumed it was an Ornette Coleman reference to The Shape of Jazz to Come, which it is, but also Nation of Ulysses have a song called The Sound of Jazz to Come. So it's like you kind of add up all these things, right? Like the literal words that are used and the sort of how iconic I think some of the languages around this record. It's like there's a lot. Like, it's not just like, oh, they were kind of cribbing from this and cribbing from that. Like, I'm almost sympathetic to what seems to be a very Gen X opinion that, like, this is just watered down these two bands. Although I don't think anyone in Ink and Dagger holds it against.
Well, I also think it's kind of like that's not unprecedented for a band from a different country to like just do a really, really good impression of American music in one way or another.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, that makes them seem like a novelty band. I wish I could think of a great reference to drop in. We'll edit it in and post a funny reference.
Yeah, something very funny is going to
just imagine I said something really funny.
Oh man, that's totally true. I'm so glad you remember that. That's perfect. What an amazing analogy or metaphor or simile. Thank you for that.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, this song in particular is the least annoying of all the Refused songs. I really do think I was searching through. Have you searched through your own old tweets about Refused? Because that's something we need to.
No, I hadn't. I definitely searched Twitter for Summerholidays versus Punkroutine just to kind of like see, but I have not looked up my own tweets about Refused. Do you have?
Oh, see, you've even turned on them. In 2015, you said I was cool with the Refused song that sounded like Foo Fighters, but I cannot fuck with a Refused song that sounds like Big Sugar.
Yo, I want to go ahead and revise that. That's a 2015 take. I now think that Big Sugar absolutely rocks. So I was wrong about that.
And you did, yeah, because everyone was mad at them for reuniting for Coachella, which is like, I don't know, it's my last week at Exclaim, so I'm just kind of just gliding on by. But today I was just like doing the easy work of posting some tour dates, it's just a formatting job. And I was looking at a new press photo of Anti-Flag, and I was just thinking like, man, you got to still dress like that after all these years? You can't just like get into streetwear or do what other midlife crisis people do. You have to still just keep, repping that you hate capitalism on your sleeve all the time. Like that's got to be exhausting by now,
Oh yeah, I definitely tweeted about that. Hope when Lixian goes all, I've got a bone to pick with capitalism at the Refused show, everyone doubles over, incapacitated by laughter. I was like very mad about Refused.
I did one I referenced that song many years ago. Whoa, I guess I've tweeted actually a lot. In 2015, I said.
You have tweeted a lot.
In the late 90s, Refused finally answered the question, what if Disturbed were situationists? Because they are very Disturbed sounding, and that used to be my way of insulting them. But of course, yeah, this is one from 2012 that I thought was underrated. Is I've got a boner to pick with Crapitalism from a failed Refused parody album. Wow, reading my tweets out loud really makes me second guess my entire life.
Yeah, this is bad. We should stop and start.
But I think this one, it really is my actual feelings about it, and I think you should read it out loud so I don't have to. But this is exactly my feelings about Refused.
Okay, This is from user at Josiah Hughes, August 11th, 2020. So this is a recent one. I feel really bad for Refused because too many snapback guys who learned about music through EA Sports soundtracks said they were the best hardcore band of all time, so now they're stuck in purgatory to pay the bills instead of enjoying a natural middle age by becoming mod DJs. Yeah,
they're trapped. That's why they're making this Gigi Allen shit. That's why they're just fucking making the most dog shit music you've ever heard, because I think eventually they had to have started believing that they had been the shape of punk to come, and then they had to keep going. I mean, that would suck.
Well, it's one of those things where the influence of this band is so interesting, and I've offhandedly mentioned this on the pod before, and I was kind of hoping that I could dig more into this opinion that I have, which is that I think Shape of Punk to Come is a brilliant fucking record. I basically think it's perfect, and I love it. And I don't know that I guess I love Refused holistically anymore, but I do just absolutely love everything about that record. However, and I think it's influence is undisputable. But I've always said the descendants of Refused, kind of like the descendants of Grade, are not always as good as the original. In fact, it's a lot of it is sort of really increasingly shitty copies of copies. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to find some perfect examples of this for this pod. But the thing is, off the top of my head, I'm not smart enough anymore. And when you just try to look up, just be lazy and go Refused influences, that's where it's bands like Blink-182 and Paramore. And you're like, that's not who I'm talking about, though. But they really did become
That proves the point that they just had nothing to do with the actual community that they were sounding like at the time, at least. And
I think that's really interesting. Yeah.
I'm just talking about at the time. Like, honestly, I've heard that Dennis Lyxzén is a cool guy, and I love some of his other bands. Like, I remember loving International Noise Conspiracy, and he had a band called AC4 that was doing kind of like Regulations style Telecaster, Killed by Death type punk. I love that shit, but I think that there's just something about this that is so cartoonish. Yeah, I'm starting to love it the more I talk about it. It's so cartoonish to take these incredibly pretentious things, just drop them into like Spin magazine alternative culture, and then basically leave for a while and then come back and get paid. Like, that's kind of tight, actually.
No, that's the thing. Is like in now as an adult, like, so when I'm tweeting like so hilariously in 2012, like, I don't realize that it rocks to make money at that point. Like, I'm the fool.
I mean, I've never had the opportunity to learn that yet, but
well, patreon.com/155pod teach Josiah a lesson about how you don't need to pick any bones with capitalism, because it will give you a bone. But yeah, exactly. But I think the idea that they had, I mean, again, just for anyone who isn't familiar with it, the idea that this band makes this record that sort of takes on this mythic status, but by the time anyone's heard it, they've broken up, because they break up the year this record comes out. And for people who haven't seen, the doc Refused or Fucking Dead is, I think, so good. And I get people who think that it's like deeply pretentious and that everything that Refused does is deeply pretentious, but to me it's like perfectly pretentious. Like, one of the guys who's in the band is the one directing it, and they talk about the final show, because like the final show they played was in Harrisburg, right, Virginia, and they get 3 or 4 songs in and it gets broken up by the cops, and like that's it. And it was the end of this disastrous American tour where they were just playing like basement shows to nobody, but you're like, that's touring in a punk band. But like the difference is that they would then go on to sort of ascend to this legendary status after having this final show just like be sort of this wet fart experience. And there's video of it, and there's stuff in the doc where guys in the band are being interviewed and they're like looking into the camera and they're talking about it, but they're kind of talking to each other. So it's like, I remember looking at you and thinking this was the end, and I was like, this fucking rocks. And so I think they have this and then who can blame them for then wanting the experience of going out and playing those songs for like thousands of people every night? Like, even like Fuck the Money, they just like playing music in front of people absolutely fucking rocks. But then you end, like, to me what's so incredible is like, it's easy to be like the EA Sports thing, it's a very funny tweet, I laughed, but like watching them play these songs. So here is like a Summerholidays video from, I think this is in Ireland, and this is in 1998. It's like a couple of months before they broke up, and they're just like clearly playing for fucking nobody, and they sound amazing. But it's also funny because he does this like monologue about how like the music industry is full of shit and popular music is bad.
We can no longer put our trust in those icons and those fallen heroes. That means nothing to us. Increased class differences and the fucking bourgeois dream of a good job. Here's a song called Summerholidays versus Punkroutine. Goes like this.
Punkroutine.
I love the accent. Also, I kind of feel like when I was a kid, I did not realize how much this just sounded like a Fugazi song. Like, I was like, it's a great Refused song. Like, listening back to it today, I was like, damn, my boys love Fugazi.
It's Fugazi, but then with the black shirt, white belt, proto Spock hair aesthetic. And that's probably also why it's hard for me to even think objectively about this now, because I feel myself doing the limp-wristed finger pointing that I did back then. It's just coming back to me.
Did you ever dance like that? Did you ever do the full, like...
Oh, yeah, big time.
Really?
Because my friends and I just used to go to see the same 3 bands every weekend. That was like our whole teenage life, and we were just... Was there someone like passed out on the couch?
No, that's like people are not passed out. People are just sitting. Like, this is like, I don't know. Maybe this is the second biggest song from like what will be like the biggest punk/hardcore album of an era, and like this band is a month away from breaking up, and people are just sitting on the couch that's like seemingly in front of the stage. But like, how many shows have you played like this?
Yeah, like almost every show.
And I think like Refused then also feeds into this like weird sense like of like maybe one day people will discover this. Like, do you not think, like, maybe one day people will discover the Prenup record? Because, like, from time to time, I'm like, people will discover Junior Battles Idle Ages, which references this song,
Yeah, I want to ask you about that in a second. No, I don't really think that way anymore. I think I just like don't care because I think it's also like for me, yeah, I'm such a piece of shit, but like I never wanted people to discover it, the wrong people. I always was trying to get the right people to discover it. And that's why it was like so painful and torturous for me, and why I like regretted it.
There are no right people.
That's what I mean. Like I've come to learn that it seems like if you get popular, then it's just going to be really embarrassing and bad no matter what. There's no way to do it. It's better to just like make cool shit that you like. So that's
why we're working hard to not be popular here.
Exactly.
That's the 155 promise.
Well, that's, yeah. I mean, I keep thinking, when we were talking about this earlier, I keep thinking of Refused as being like the song exploder to us. Maybe we're the, I don't know. I don't want to say we're a certain band or not, but that's what it feels like. Because even watching this video, I agree, it's sick and it looks cool, but the way that they are all matching what they look like, and his little rehearsed speech at the start, and then they broke up because no one was coming to their shows. Like, it makes me feel like they were just like ready to explode into America, like fucking One Direction or something. Like
that's interesting.
It does feel more manufactured actually than less to me.
Well, I guess it did still, like, it's not like this is a record that no one heard that came out on like a regional DIY label, right? This is a record that no one heard that came out on a like post Offspring epitaph, like
pre-Ronnie
Radke,
pre the Lindas.
Yeah, and like Burning Heart, which I listen. I don't know the sort of ins and outs of the European.
I think of Burning Heart as being mostly Millencolin label. Isn't that who releases Millencolin?
Maybe. I mean, I just feel like it's like every band like this is like, in my mind, this is like the Helicopters, which is also probably not even true. But it's like, I don't know, any band that kind of looks remotely Scandinavian to me, Burning Heart, and like they have an accent, but they play like American music.
Well, but you're kind of right. But Burning Heart is like Millencolin, Satanic Surfers, Randy, right. No Fun at All. Like, why did Refused end up signing with like what were ostensibly skate punk labels? Why didn't this come out on like Jade Tree or Troubleman Limited or GSL or something? That's also just very weird to me.
Well, you know, it sort of reminds me of like, I remember back in the day being really into Bear vs. Shark. I don't know if you ever got into that band.
I loved that one album. The one
album was fucking sick. And I remember like talking to some dudes that were older than me. And again, this is like gatekeepy kind of shit, but it was like, oh yeah, that band is good, but it's weird because like none of my friends in Michigan know who they are. And you're like, oh, that is kind of weird because like if you're a punk band in the Midwest, like, you know, like how many fucking people are, you know, like these communities are fairly small, and like especially if your whole thing is like being so explicitly like political and you know, not just political. I'm trying to think of a more nuance. You know, just being this like, we're a socialist band. We are about sort of like people and all those things, but like no people.
You're right.
In that actual community. Like how many, you know, in the end there are these bands that are like comprised of, the reason that Against Me got their fucking tires slashed is because actual anarchists liked Against Me, right? Like actual anarchist people felt betrayed by Against Me, whereas it kind of seems like there was no core there for Refused.
There's no community, like, really. It feels like.
I hope to be corrected by some fucking Swede who is like, you don't understand, they were pillars of the local scene, but you sort of feel like the degree of sloganeering that you get with this band like should come with it, like, and we're committed to building community at home, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's probably, if you're going to be looking for that with sloganeering bands, you're going to be looking quite far and wide to find that for the most part, I think. But yeah, and again, that's all this stuff is making me like them more. Like, I think they were just like cocky rock stars, and the pretension of everything. Like the funny thing is they were trying to be the gatekeepers. They were trying to be gatekeepy, and instead they became the normie band. It's like some sort of weird twisted lesson. And I also want to be clear that I actually don't necessarily think gatekeeping is bad. And not just the gatekeeper tier at patreon.com/155pod. But in general,
that's definitely good.
In general, I think gatekeeping is like just kind of a necessary evil that we should be aware of. And you should be aware of it to make sure that you're not excluding people who just don't get it and don't understand. But you should also be aware of it in the other way where I mean, maybe not though. Like the churn of culture, no matter what, it was going to be embarrassing to wear a white belt and have a Spock haircut in 2010. That was bound to happen either way. So maybe it's fine that Refuse did this and became sort of the go-to reference for alternative normies. And I'm seeing here on Wikipedia that New Noise has been covered on numerous occasions by the likes of The Used, Anthrax, Snot, and Crazy Town. So
yes,
Crazy Town's New Noise would be pretty tight.
Yeah, well, actually, here's the thing. I know this isn't the New Noise episode, but can we find a video of Crazy Town covering New Noise? Because I don't think we're ever going to do it. I feel like this is the Refused episode.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you're right. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so while you look that up, I'm just going to because I'm delegating.
Well, I already found it, so.
Oh, okay, great. Is this on television?
It must have been.
Yo, we're Crazy Town? Like,
oh my god. This is so good.
This is actually how New Noise should have sounded.
I'm going to tweet this tonight so that no listeners can steal my glory. Holy shit. Yeah, this is good. Well, that's the other tension of this album is that post-hardcore people were always like against hardcore. They're always like, oh, it's too macho and too tough and too jockey. And so this kind of wimpier, limp-wristed, like danceable post-hardcore was supposedly like a response to that or a rebellion against that. But like New Noise is a fucking jock jam, and Crazy Town turning it into like a slightly heavier, slightly more Hatebreed-esque chug along makes it sound better. It sounds more natural that way. Like I
would love to chug along with that. Like, you know, just like at the big game with the boys.
But I want to know, like, real quick, before I want to give the Junior Battles section its fair amount of consideration. But first, I want to know, why is this song called this? And is it about anything, or is it more like At the Drive-In Lyrics, where it's just a string of like references?
Well, that's why I think that this is, you know, not only is it like, okay, perfect, punk is in the title, so we can do a Refused episode. We have, and we will, I think, continue to discuss this sort of abstract notion of gatekeeping to a degree that, like, maybe you're tired of it as a listener, and in that case, like, I sincerely apologize. But, like, I really feel like that's what this song kind of is about, right? And it's, like, on its most kind of surface level, I think you can just sort of interpret it as, like, that era, if you're in a band when you're in your, you know, whatever 20s, and you're like, okay, which direction is your life going in? Like, are you gonna like get on the fucking road and tour, or are you gonna like just like do what everybody else does and take a holiday in the sun to, you know, right, reference our other sort of favorite gatekept punks. And so, no, I don't think it's like just a clever title. I think, you know, it's an attempt to like, I actually think that the lyrics are sort of better than the idea that is hinted at by the title. But to me, it is very much this thing about like, okay, like what, you know, where do your real passions lie, and like how much are you willing to like lay it on the line, you know, for punk?
Right. Yeah. So this song really is about like punk and like whether or not you should sell out and stuff. And I love that the word scenario is repeated so many times, because that's a word like all these bands obviously would always say like revolution and those kind of words, but scenario has that same kind of vibe as a word. Scenario.
It also feels very, once again, Scandinavian. Like that was, you're always like, okay, come on. Like just because like English isn't your first language, you don't have to show up and be like, check out how many syllables I can fit into the, like, fuck off. But I think like the fact is like this song is kind of like about, like it's a song about selling out, right? It's a song. And so it's so interesting for them to have been this band that like, they didn't just break up. They didn't just like go quietly into that good night, right? It was like Refused are fucking dead. That was it. It was like emphatic. It was like treating
such a cringy way to say it as well.
I think it's so sick.
It's so,
like again, at that time I was like, oh my God, I fucking like I loved this was just pretentious enough for me. Like I was like, this is so fucking
to me it's like
cool.
It's like pretentious with a dash of epic bacon, and that's the problem. It's like they're not they don't have the balls to go like they don't have the balls to go like full pretentious, you know, like if it was completely inaccessible and we had to like we had to like read literature to understand even remotely what the lyrics were referencing, that would be an acceptable level of pretension. But
I remember like when I was younger being like, oh, the Refused Party program, like wow, they've got like tenets that they are espousing here. This is fucking smart music. And now I'm like literally just like, oh, this song is just like, don't want to sell out or get old, play a rock band on the road. Like, so the idea though that you have, I think like one of the best riffs on this whole fucking album, and that do 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 do, like it's a fucking really, really good riff. And the fact that then the sort of like chorus basically is just following that exactly, and that like rather be forgotten than remembered for giving in. And then ultimately, like, I kind of wonder how, like, what is the history of Refused going to look like? Because in the end, like, I don't think it was unfair. Like, I didn't go to the Refused reunion shows because I was like, this is bullshit. I don't want to see the band this way. Like, it just feels like a cash and it feels shitty. And then I remember seeing, like, videos of them playing New Noise, like, in Toronto, you know, from some friends, and just being like, I fucked up so badly. They're like, not everything has to matter. But the problem is because when you position it like everything does matter, like everything is fucking life or death, and your punk ethics are life or fucking death, and
that's what you get from Refused lyrics?
I think so. Well, that's exactly it, right? This idea of like, okay, it's better to just like have people forget you than to be remembered as a band that like wrote all these fucking commie anthems and then just like reunited to play Coachella. Like, and that is kind of like the legacy of this band is going to be like the bad cyberpunk game, the Foo Fighters album.
I've heard some reliable sources have told me Cyberpunk is actually good. So I'd love to find out.
Just buggy.
Yeah, exactly. But whom among us isn't really? Have you ever noticed that The Shape of Punk to Come actually has a subtitle called A Chimerical Abomination in 12 Bursts? Because that already makes me just want to delete the episode. Like
I have noticed. I spent a lot of time with this CD, like with these, like this is one of those things that like the physical copy feels like it's imbued with meaning because I had it at a certain time.
It reminds me of like when I used to like help out with online zines, or I had my own zines when I was a kid, or I did stuff like that, and I would get like promos in flimsy like plastic. Like basically they would send me the CD to review, but they wouldn't include a case, so they would just put it in like a flimsy clear plastic thing. And I would get like shit from G7 welcoming committee, and it just makes me think of like listening to a Noam Chomsky lecture in my room when I was like 13 and being like, this fucking sucks. What am I
so
doing?
Cool. Yeah.
Just falling asleep.
You're like, I guess maybe if I listen to it while I'm sleeping, I'll absorb it. I think that's how memory works. But again, I think the idea that like this song kind of to me sits as the linchpin, and like look at all of these songs are kind of about like existing inside of a capitalist structure, trying to find like new methods of expression and shit, and these, using these same old tools. But the idea that like this song really is about like, holding, like being against icons, like pop icons, like that's the monologue that he, I don't know how rehearsed that monologue is that we heard, but it's like every old video that's what he talks about, right? It's like destroying pop music, and the irony, of course, being that like New Noise is a piece of popular music.
And this song too, I think, is very pop music.
The song's super pop. This song is like, I feel like as poppy, I was thinking a lot about the Argument era Fugazi, because I feel like, you and I talked a lot about that when we did And Introducing and turned a punk podcast into a moist debacle. But like this feels like it could be an Argument era, like pop, like chilled out Fugazi track.
Definitely.
Like it's so poppy. But again, it becomes like a prism through which like, it's either pretentious that you like know it, or it's like pretentious that you don't know it. Like I just shared, there's like too many of these articles, and they come on like either side, and still like an MTV article from like 2012, a Decibel article from like the last couple of years, like people arguing both sides of like, well, The Shape of Punk to Come was a brilliant record, but it's too bad it wasn't The Shape of Punk to Come because all punk now is vapid and stupid, and Refused had a message. Or it's like this kind of stuff, which I just needed to read because it felt like something that like you and I both know these exact people, and it's just like the distillation of a certain type of, I want to say punk person, but the fact of the matter is punk guy. This is from a user on the Drowned in Sound message board. It's called Horror Biz, and the title of it is a message to fans of Refused. How comfortable / aware are you of this band's plagiarism of Nation of Ulysses? Don't take this as an attack, but if you like to listen to Refused, then there's really nothing else to it. But considering this band is so regarded, I just wondered if y'all knew the history before proclaiming them to be seminal. If you don't, that's cool too. Music history is pretty useless unless you care loads about it, and it's completely forgivable if you don't. I won't be so patronizing as to type up the whole story, but if you care enough to Google the two bands, it should be pretty obvious that Refused more or less lifted their sound, image, ideals from NOU several years after the fact and coded it in a joyless European sheen, which I actually do think that's very evocative. Like I said, I'm not asking about your own enjoyment of the music, just whether this information registers when all the hype gets thrown around. Like, just imagining the brain that had to type that up, like, makes me angry at, like, ever setting foot in a record store.
It's so true.
It's like so nice. It was like, I'm not. It's cool if you like it. It's
Yeah,
just like,
they're
do
just
you
like
care
also
about this? I'm not going to bore you with the details, but you know,
here's
you
the
should
details.
know.
It seemed like a scene from Venom where he's trying to fight his inner Venom while he
Totally,
talks. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know,
I
it's
would love to have Tom Hardy read this as a monologue.
You know, it's no problem if you're not mad, but they ripped them off.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, like the fact saying they have a joyless European sheen, like. There are bands with a joyless year. That's why people love Ice Age so much. That's why Lust for Youth is like the coolest, most underrated band of the last 10 years. A joyless European sheen goes a long way. But when I actually look at these Refused lyrics for the first time ever, these seem kind of like confessional Bridge 9 Records amazing core handwritten lyrics. Like, and that's even more baffling to me is that these are just so confessional and kind of personal and almost teenage seeming that the fact that they're kind of coached in all of this pretentious faux academia is even more hilarious and bizarre. It's like all of the academic texts are like the lorem ipsum text in the graphic design to just hide like what is just really like another fucking hardcore song is all that this really is lyrically.
Well, just, you know, to now just, you know, in the interest of hearing both sides, I would like to read this article from MTV News from a few years ago. Just going to read the final paragraph because this is, you know, perhaps refuting Horror Biz's Drowned in Sound post. Refused have to see some irony in the fact that they titled their signature album The Shape of Punk to Come. Like, no, you have to comment on. Everyone's like, a little ironic that they called it that. Like, fucking Christ. Have to see some irony in the fact that they titled their signature album The Shape of Punk to Come, and 14 years later, we're only seeing it take that shape because they've reunited. It's almost like they predicted this. But this is as well-timed as a reunion can be. There's a strong urge to see punk rock become dangerous again, to stand in solidarity with Pussy Riot, or to keep bands like Rage Against the Machine out of the hands of people like Paul Ryan. And here is Refused. 14 years ago, they drew up a blueprint for how to do exactly that. The bands that followed them weren't interested at the time, but this is a second chance. The Shape of Punk to Come wasn't the Shape of Punk to come, but it still might be.
That is, see, that's
Doesn't that give you hope?
The problem with this band is it just makes everyone so epic. That's why I don't want to be too epic. That's why I still want to say, you know, this song's pretty good because I don't want to be too. I don't want to participate in this epic dialogue that this song is begging of me.
They are demanding it. And I also, you glossed over this off the top when you were saying that you were sort of sick of takes. But I'm really interested. Maybe we could do this in the Sclusy in interrogating a little more of how like you're like the tough best friend that everyone wants in their corner. Where like you were like had a bit of a busy weekend, had to come to defense of my friend Nate Ruiz on Twitter being unfairly maligned. You're a real ride or die Twitter friend to people. And I
guess
that's
so.
very punk.
I just think that it's like this new crop of washed up alternative musicians seems to be trying to become a 2012 style noisy writer, and that's like so depressing to me. Like, just do literally anything else other than try to rebrand as a freelancer, you know? What are you doing?
Hot new rebrand coming in.
Is that everything you want to say? Because I have a couple little psycho things I want to share. If we can have a second.
I think I had one, you know, I found like one or two little Josiah treats, but maybe I'll let you share, you know, just to give you your moment in the sun. But if if you don't share at least one of these things, I have one kind of Josiah to share.
Excellent.
But
okay,
please,
well,
I would like you to have the stage for a moment.
Actually, real quick, I do want to give the stage to our dear listeners for one moment, because in preparing for this episode, obviously everyone's been listening to this, and it kind of, I think, says something that the younger generation, so many people like either absolutely hate Refused or have just never heard it at all. And Ivan, aka Joanna Newsom 41, they wrote, listening to Refused for the first time, this sounds like Fred Durst doing Fugazi karaoke and somehow manages to make that bad. So I thought that
because like that description, I'm like, fuck yes, but okay, I guess
it's still okay. Not. But I noticed like
they're young, they don't know any better. That's the problem. Like, we got to save the kids.
I think Refused was so epic so early that the younger people will just never be. There's nothing left for them to even sink their teeth into, because every fucking epic guy who was raised on Kurt Cobain and needed a new hero, they loved Refused way too much and it burned too bright. So there's no Refused left for the younger generations, and now they're just kind of. So I thought that was interesting. And then another thing I thought was interesting is this video of these Russian guys hard stancing, and it's
yes.
Did you find this?
No, I didn't, but I just loved the idea. Here's something else I thought was interesting. These two Russian guys, and I was like, oh, Josiah is in to watch together.
I love this video because it's entitled Summer Holidays versus Punkroutine. There's actually like 13 Russian guys, and Madball is what they chose to play in the background instead.
I was like,
and he's eating sunflower seeds.
That first Russian guy kind of looked like Russian Paul Dano.
Yeah. I wonder what they're saying. I should have asked Mila. I just found this like 5 minutes ago.
What do you think they're talking about? The guy's wearing an Unearthed shirt. Hey, do you know, is Dennis still straight edge? Do you like them because they're straight edge?
I have no idea.
He was in the straight edge band before Refused, so.
Oh, see, that's why he started Refused. He's just.
Okay, that was good. That was a good Josiah video.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask. I just asked Mila, the resident Russian translator. Okay, a couple other real quick ones. This is. I just searched Punkroutine. This is Spider Punk's morning routine in real life. So this is someone cosplaying as a punk Spider-Man. I think their alarm clock might have been Refused, actually.
Oh wait, rewind it. I want to know.
Was it? You think? You can't really tell, but it had a bit of that.
Hold on.
You're trying to Shazam it?
Yeah. It's honestly kind of hard to tell. The fact that it's just Spider-Man's morning routine in real life, and then
I guess there's not really a Refused reference. He's just kind of getting out of bed, looking for his cool denim punk vest and his bullet belt.
Yeah.
Going to the bathroom. I mean, I didn't even watch. Oh, he put studs on his head.
Oh, yo, Punk Spider-Man kind of looks cool.
There was a Punk Spider-Man in the Spider-Man PlayStation game, so maybe that's why. Oh, he jumps right into the vents. That was cool. Okay, that was cool.
Damn, checking the fridge like a punk.
Pizza Hut.
Monster Energy drink.
Pizza Hut is so different in America from Canada.
What is Pizza Hut in America like?
It's like just a lot shittier, I think.
Oh yeah, here it's a Lux pie.
It is, right? Like, I mean, I've never had it in this corner.
Pizza Hut was when you're treating yourself.
Yeah, it's like just like a fucking grease bomb.
Okay, now he's playing Guitar Hero, just like you do when you're Punk.
When you're Punk Spider-Man. Yeah, I don't know. We don't need to necessarily watch the whole thing, but this was just one other one. He goes outside, jumps on the trampoline. Oh, he's playing Guitar Hero on the trampoline now.
Yo, Punk Spider-Man is actually pretty cool.
Okay, there's a few others, but this is the last one that I think is worth playing. This is an Irish Punk's morning routine from 1987.
How many guys have had a secret longing to paint their lips blue and do something really different with their hair? Well, just for you, this is how it's done.
Let's go.
Well, waking up at the crack of 10:59. Pretty punk. Imagine waking up to a cuckoo clock.
That'd be so cool.
It's like you're in a fucking 80s comedy. You know that your day was about to go off the rails.
This room is so sick.
This looks like the decline of Western civilization.
Whoa, this like looks like everyone I follow on Instagram now who's a punk.
So this was like on television. Like this really was like.
Well, didn't it seem like the news lady at the start was also punk? Was there like a punk TV service?
Yeah, maybe she was like new wave.
This is a sick video. I didn't watch it yet.
This is like fairly well produced, like 80s television.
Yeah, I guess we should describe it a bit. So this punk got up, washed his face in a bowl sink that looks like a bowl.
A bit of a nutter at the start, and then learn to accept it. It's just me, just another, as they thought, another one of my, crazy ways of going on. I wake up, get out of bed, put salt in my hair.
So quiet.
Back home, spike it out.
Okay, because you charged his hair.
Black eyeliner on my lips.
Black eyeliner?
With blue.
On my lips.
Like a big close-up of just like, this is a man putting on eyeliner.
About 3 years ago, I started.
But there's ASMR and it's Irish. I know some people will remember the significance of Irish ASMR from the Sclusies. I'm not going to say anything else about that.
That's a big moment. I'll be honest, like
I feel like he's fucking up that lip lining
on YouTube, but this is fucking terrible.
Yeah,
and most of them think my board, so they start slagging.
I'm absolutely enamored with this video, though. See, this is so much better than Refused.
If you want to do it,
it's true. This video is better than Refused.
Just be yourself.
Just be yourself. Just be yourself.
Oh, that was great.
Oh, just be yourself.
Well, okay. Well, I have one thing that I do want to play with you before
We also need to talk about junior battles too. So show me your thing. Let's talk about junior battles, and then we'll get to covers.
Okay. I'll put this. So this is just something. This is actually related to the song, but I thought you'd enjoy it. This is a bass cover. There weren't a lot of interesting covers. And of course, we're going to hear covers from the niche, but this is sort of one cover that jumped out.
Okay, fine. I have to show you one more thing too.
Now that I've shared this with you, so as I sort of offhandedly referenced and you referenced, there is on the hit Junior Battles record, there's a song called "Birthday Parties" versus Punkroutine. But that's just because it was a cool ass title.
You're just you're just playing with you're just swapping out Summer Holidays. To you, a birthday party is kind of a mini summer holiday.
I think that was it. It was the same thing, right? Because that was we had a couple of we had an EP and like a 7-inch, and it was like, ooh, okay, we're all done school, and are we gonna kind of fuck off for a little bit and do band stuff, and is that gonna and we had been touring a bit, and it's like, okay, it fucked up a few things, like a few work or relationship things at home. So that's kind of what that song's about. And so it was like, oh, that's a clever winking title.
So it wasn't just merely in the title, but it was thematically a nod.
Yeah, it felt like it was a good, all the dumb thematic Junior Battles nods actually do make sense. They're not just full on long stupid song titles, and so I will defend them.
But how much Guy Debord situationist theory is in that song?
So much, man. We felt like the only way we could use that is to read all of the situationistism that we could, and we did. I'm very informed on those topics. Listen to this bass, man.
That's so good. Okay, fine. If you want to hear covers, this one is by someone called President Soup. And
yeah, okay.
This one is what's going on? Here we go. This is President Soup. I think I definitely like this song now. President Soup is a pretty good band name too.
President Soup is an amazing band. It's an amazing band name for this really elegant saxophone.
They get to. I feel like almost.
Is this? None of this sounds like Summer Holidays versus Punkroutine.
There's a part where I could tell it definitely was, but there we go.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. That's sounds like Tower of Power playing Refused.
It sounds like when you're at a folk festival and some fucking burner parents are just taking up so much space dancing, waving patchouli around in the corner of the field.
This is the fucking best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. You almost didn't play this until I played that bass cover?
Yeah. I was mostly excited about the Russian guys hard stancing.
Yeah, this is a good indication of like our sort of different vibes. As you were like, check out these Russian dudes standing next to some train tracks while Madball plays, and meanwhile you were like, no one needs to hear this.
Exactly. All right, let's listen to our own covers though. Before we do covers, Mila has come through with a translation on the cool Russian guys. Apparently, they're all different bands hanging out by the train tracks, plugging themselves. One of them is a reunion. One of them is a new band. One of the bands has their first album in 4 years. So that was like a promo for a show. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, shit. So we should go to that show.
We should. I mean, I think that was a pretty old video. And also, I actually don't even really understand where Russia is, to be honest. Do you?
It's to the left.
Is it by? Well, that's true. Or not? Or is it to the far right?
That's interesting. I mean, I guess it really depends.
Kind of, yeah, it depends. Okay, this is already
that's heady.
This is already problematic.
Yeah, let's not do this, man. I got to read some more situationist. Man,
apparently the reunion band said, "Everyone who likes hardcore, punk rock, etc., we invite you."
Oh, nice. That's cool.
So gatekeeping, not happen. No gatekeeping on those train tracks.
No gatekeeping in Russia. That's good. That's exactly what I've heard about Russia.
So these are going to be covers of the Refused song "Summer Holidays" versus Punkroutine. I guess
is that what we're about to hear?
Theoretically, somebody might be here because they wanted to hear us talk about Refused. They might still be here, which would be hilarious. Imagine if this is your first episode and you're still here. Congratulations.
Let us know how it's gone for you.
But if you would like to cover songs for the show, you find that out by going to patreon.com/155pod. There's a whole world. There's a whole festering underworld of this podcast. It's just kind of, it's like chuds beneath the sewer. That's what it's like to be a fan of the show and give us money as well. So
yeah, become a chud. It's the chud tier.
Exactly. Okay, so let's start off with Todd Killings here. So Todd Killings, always great to see you on here. This is in the style of Diesel Boy's Titty Twister. This is in tribute to DRMC, Dude Ranch Means Come, who is not contributing covers this month, taking a little break. But in honor of DRMC, there's been a few skate punk tributes. This is Diesel Boy style cover. I have a feeling it's going to be more Todd Killingsy than Diesel Boy, but I cannot wait to hear
I'm very curious,
the two meet. So here's Todd Killings with Freehold Raceway Mall Laps versus VFW Gigs. See, that like angular guitar stuff sounds so good in this kind of ratty practice space.
Amazing, yeah. I mean, it makes it sound more like an Ink and Dagger song. I don't think this is how Diesel Boy's Titty Twister sounds.
I wish it did. I mean, that sounds cool.
Know.
That kind of to me sounded like a little bit like the one Tom Waits song that I really know, which is big in Japan, which was on
totally,
which was on a Punkorama comp, and that's the other thing we didn't mention is this song this week is also on was it Punkorama 4 or 5? The one with the kid with the black eye on the cover.
Yeah.
So that's probably also why this is another hit, because it was like, and it kind of supports the industry plant feeling of the whole thing as well.
It's a comp jam. I mean, the comp jams are real.
They are.
We also barely acknowledged you off the top. We're like, it's a podcast where we talk about songs with punk in the title. We have not mentioned the fact that it is Punk Month. Mm-hmm. And for something you said reminded me. So I do just want to say we've got 2 more weeks of Punk Month too. And one of the, I guess we haven't another wild card pick yet. So part of the
if you're listening, well, yeah. I mean, actually, yeah. If you're listening right now, we'll make sure that you still have a second to vote if you sign up. Real quick on Patreon, but the window's closing to vote on the Punk Month,
the final punk
song of Punk Month before we go back to actually talking about punk songs rather than songs with punk in the title. Just what a fucking annoying podcast this is. Hey, it's irritating.
It's offensive.
So petty what we're doing. It's just irritating. Okay, up next is Yeah Nah, Yeah Nah. Long time, first time. Listening to all of the great covers of the pod has brought into the world has made me want to give it a shot. I can't really play guitar or sing or record music, and this is the first song I've really finished. Also, I had to buy a bass guitar on my lunch break. Thanks for all that you do. Oh my God.
They could have used that bass cover that we found. If only we had, done the episode earlier.
I like the idea of them, in my mind, they bought a bass guitar on their lunch break, recorded it, and then returned the bass guitar.
Took it back.
Which I think would be the coolest idea. So let's go. Yeah, nah, yeah, nah. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the fold. Let's go.
It's like fucking Archers of Loaf ass cover of this song.
Yeah, like what?
That's fucking insane.
What do you mean you can't play guitar or sing or record
music?
That was like so good. You should buy more instruments on your lunch break. Just make a whole
I gotta say, you made good use
it.
of buying that bass. Like that bass was in there, and it sounded fucking sick.
That also,
it really sounded like what if Refused were from North Carolina,
And I just got to say it, not that anyone else would hear this. If you did hear it, please back me up on this. The bass line did sound a little bit like a certain Delirious song, but that's neither here nor there. That's just kind of for the people who know. Let me know if you heard it. Otherwise, that was fucking sick as hell. Way to go. Yeah, nah. Great band name too. Love to hear it.
Incredible.
Okay.
That was so great. I love first time, long time shit makes me so happy. I've said it a million times. So great. And if that is your first attempt to that's your first time you finish the song, that's wild. And again, people should definitely just
keep doing the first time, long time.
Let off their mental shackles and first time, long time it.
Okay, up next is Billy Joel Armstrong with Summer Holiday versus Punkroutine. Wow. I was expecting it to sound more... I've never really listened to Billy Joel, though. Is there much kind of vibey, moody...
I think it's more that there's, piano.
Right.
I unfortunately, I love some Billy Joel, but I feel like this is giving a lot of credit to Billy Joel.
It almost sounds like a Spoon song, actually.
But, yeah, totally.
In a good way. I actually secretly like Spoon. That was sick. Very good.
That was great. Great Billy Joel / Spoon vibe.
Wow. Maybe I'm gonna like this song by the end. Unfortunately,
you're fucked.
It's happening. It's all happening. All right, especially because what would it sound like if a baby did it? Whoa. Okay. Is there synths?
Feels like it should be the theme song for a straight to VHS 80s action movie or something.
Yeah.
I would see as part of a Laser Blast Film Society screening at the Royal.
Oh, the guitar tone is so good.
Yeah, this is cool. Oh my God! There's a lot of babies in the mix there.
That was what an evolution! Damn, this is really pushing people out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And once again, speaking of being out of my comfort zone, the Gogol Bordello Globe Hell warning mashup is back. Globe Hell Bord Hello. we're a pretty famous band you might have heard of. We also really like Global Warning, so we changed our name a little to reference it. We modified our typical sound a bit for this week's cover, but you can still tell that it's us because of our accents. Okay, let's try it.
Sorry, I do appreciate the note that it's only the second cover that they've ever submitted, so they're very, very nervous.
Very nice vibe. Also, like,
yeah, this is like, I actually don't believe that this is Gogo Bordello. It's way too subtle.
exactly. Like, this sounds more like.
I guess they acknowledge that it's not their usual vibe.
It's like some more Robert Smith vibes in the vocals or something.
Yeah, I feel like it's like if Robert Smith like sang for the Pogues. It's like this really moody Body of an American.
Yeah, like go Bordello. That is too annoying, and there's nothing annoying about this at all. It's just kind of delightful.
I'm not annoyed enough.
Kind of sounded like
next
that.
time, try to be more annoying.
It sounded like that band Beirut to me, who I also used to like. There's a lot of like mid-aughts indie going on right now for some reason.
I was like very curious what these covers were going to sound like because this feels like one of the least like poppy things we've done in a while. Mm-hmm. And people are doing interesting shit with it.
All right, well, let's.
Like, I mean, it is poppy, so this is obviously poppy, but it's still like it's like, not as easy to slot into just like any kind of style, I would say.
People are really picking up on the janky, herky, the angularity of it, so to speak.
The angularity is coming through for sure.
Okay, Shawn Mendes's lawyer's best friend. Do we got to do the thing? I mean, we all know that Sam.
Everybody knows.
Best friends with these.
Everybody knows.
This is called Material Boys Punkroutine. Let's go. Based on the artwork, I think this is maybe a Millencolin reference.
Fellow Scandinaves. I will say the Pennybridge Pioneers art, if this is like a spoof up, is like really so. I feel like it's bad in a way that they didn't intend for it to be. I don't give this band that much credit.
The artwork, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Like, do you think they know? Anyway, that was sick.
That was so sick. I mean, Millencolin not necessarily known for their visual aesthetic. If you think about all the weird, like, bananas and monkeys and shit.
Yeah,
and birds,
exactly.
Like,
biffed it a lot in the past, I think.
That was very sick, SMLBF. Thanks for that. Up next, 20th Century. I think this might be somebody from Split Hairs who does we have a new theme song every fucking week, and that's something that is just no other podcast has that shit.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
20th Century is such a sick band name. Okay, this is 20th Century Summer Holiday versus Punkroutine. I can't really roll my R's yet. I'm working on it.
Routine.
Thank you. And it says dramatic movie and game trailer music for pop song.
Awesome.
Whoa. It sounds like the intro of Dream On by Aerosmith.
Oh, yeah. I'm Dream On!
Imagine we just stopped it now. Whoa! Holy. Sounds like Seven Swans era Soof.
That's crazy.
Refused more like re-soofed.
Oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
That is amazing. 20th Century.
I would like to hear where that goes. Yeah.
We need a 20th Century LP ASAP, my friend.
I need 20 of them.
I needed 100 years of them.
Oh, fuck. That's good. That's good.
Fake Good Club. It's Kraut season, apparently. Fake Good Club is a collab between Teenage Stan Club, the Fake Plodes, and Dottie Be Good. So some Kraut now. It's Kraut time, I guess.
The shape of Kraut to come is funny. I'm going to look up if anyone's ever used that phrase before, because I really think that you got to make that a thing, Fake Good Club.
It's almost impossible. Like when you think of Kraut, you never think of like more Kraut to come. It seems like specifically always looking back when people make Kraut. I feel like you can't change the shape of Kraut.
Yeah, I just Googled in quotes. I didn't include the. I wanted to be generous. Shape of Kraut to come. Google has 0 results for this phrase.
Damn. We've talked over this whole thing, but it sounds really
Maybe I'll
sick.
just actually shut up for a second, actually. I mean, yeah, this is fucking awesome.
That's beautiful.
When like that? Yeah, that was super sick. When did Kraut like really? When was like the Kraut moment? It was like 10 years ago. Like really?
Oh, like that.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like no one was talking Kraut, and then all of a sudden everyone was talking Kraut all the time.
I know. It was all about Kraut. All that Kraut came out, and it was all about Kraut.
Do you have any like content, any information to add, or just delightful wordplay?
I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you. I never really got into Kraut because I was never stoned, and so I couldn't get into it. But
oh man, maybe that's why because like now when I listen to that, I'm like, why don't I like why am I not huge into Kraut? And then I realized it was because I was probably just a drunk when Kraut came out.
Well, I also think that
again, with Kraut's second big coming out.
Yeah, I think this Kraut had enough going on because it had the pop backbone of Refused or Resoufed, as they were previously known. But the actual Kraut stuff, it's like 5 minutes of just like the. Actually, it sounds pretty good now that I'm thinking. I do listen to the No Twist all the time. Maybe I would like some Kraut shit. I don't know. We'll see. But that was great. And up next, Clown College Dropout. Summerholidays versus Punkroutine. Broke out the acoustic bass for this one. Absolutely heinous instrument, but I thought it fit the vibe. Also, shout out to my cat, Ophelia, for chilling next to me while I was recording. You can hear her purring at the start, and she's on the artwork. Let's go. Oh yeah. Isn't that kitty?
Kitty.
Is this a Junior Battles cover?
No, I think that was just vibey.
It was really nice. I was because it says Summerholidays. I was like, oh, maybe they dropped in because it had more of like a pop punk sing along feel.
Yeah, it's. I mean, maybe what like. I will say this: the whole thing just like felt very familiar, but I thought that was just because it was like a good familiar pop punk melody. Maybe it was extra familiar, and I'm just like that would actually take a lot of heat off of me for not immediately recognizing D4 if I didn't recognize Junior Battles at some point. So I hope that's what happened. But to me, that was like if Magnetic Fields were like a fest punk band, like it had that sort of like deep, intimate delivery. That was so great.
It was really nice. I can't lie. I enjoyed it a lot. It was really nice.
Yeah, but it was like if 69 love songs, but pop like acoustic pop punk at the
68 love songs. Let's call it because it's for us. Yeah, no. Okay, up next is Drill Rod. Is the return of Rocks How. This is called Solar Panel Ways versus Gasoline. Elon Musk is in the artwork. I think we should just play it to understand it.
Okay.
I'm tired of losing myself in this different childhood dream. We're stuck between solar panel rays and gasoline. Scenarios of the city of solar panels are ridiculous on my roof. And they don't even work when there's too much smog.
little reference to Free Punk lyrics at the end.
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. That was a song with a message.
It was, yeah, that's a more profound message. Like, that's the thing, too, about, like, bands with messages back then. It was just kind of, like, vaguely, like, you know, make just, like, the world, society would be better if things looked more like Shepard Fairey art. Whereas now, bands like Drill Rod are telling us all about solar panel ways versus gasoline and weighing the pros and cons in nearly 30 seconds, barely over 30 seconds to get through all that, so...
Yeah, exactly. Like, that was distinct. That was truly like, you know, grip it and rip it, get in and get out.
Okay, up next is Shoes. Shoes Robinson says, I had a pretty brutal sinus infection for most of the week, but I didn't want to miss 2 weeks in a row, so I leaned into the sick voice and ended up landing on a way different vibe than my usual covers. Shout out to Dayquil and Cough Drops. This is called Punkroutine versus Summer's Under the Weather. Damn, I can't wait. Shoes Robinson, everybody.
Be forgotten, then remembered, forgiving it. I'd rather be forgotten than remembered, forgiving it. We're all tired of dying, so sick of not trying, scared that we might fail, accomplish nothing, accomplish nothing. We're all tired of dying, so sick of not trying, scared that we might fail, accomplish nothing.
Why is there so much like freak folk energy this week? That reminded me of Akron Family or something.
Oh yeah, totally. That was fucking great. I've listened to very little Chad Van Galen, but in my mind, that's what it's like. I felt like scared. You know, it's like, you know, like metal tries to be scary, but it's like not. It's
but
just
folk
funny.
is so much scarier.
But like scary folk, like I was just like, oh, well, like I'm gonna have to check under the bed tonight to make sure Shoes isn't there.
That's like the Midsummer vibe, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Folk versus metal.
All Chad Van Galen, where I'm just like, I'm worried that, like, you know, just like my eyes are gonna fall out of my head.
Also, it's what a curse that everyone has the coolest voice when they're sick. Like, that's...
I know.
That's so good. Okay, Jimmy Abe Brainstorm. I only listened to the actual song by The Refused about halfway through and then made this cursed cover that gets more teenage spooky as we go along. So there's a sample in this as well. It's called The Shape of Come to Come, which I love. Thank you for that. Jimmy Abe Brainstorm. Let's go.
Myself in some stupid childhood dream of what I could have been. Money proves the point. I'm stuck between summer holidays and Punkroutine. Shoot off 100 things for me to see. More sorry than safe, you see. More sorry than safe, you see. I only get this one chance. I only get this one chance.
Holy shit.
Oh, what?
What is
How
this?
is that even scarier than the last one?
What is happening?
Why is everyone trying to scare me so much?
What is happening with, like, they're all kind of falling into this vibe that is so good, and it is making me love the song. So I guess Refused should have always just been kind of a freak folk. Like the art should have been people whose arms are tree branches or something.
You know what I hate about that? And it's like one of those things where it's like I'm like certain movies I'm just like afraid to watch because I think they'll scare me too much. And that one in the description talks about how it just gets more and more cursed as it goes along. I think they said it gets more teenage spooky, and I'm like, do I want to listen to it or am I too scared? I don't know. I'll find out on Monday when all of these covers come out on Bandcamp.
Yeah, it had like the sort of the folk tale scariness of like True Detective season 1, like the antlers and shit. Like it made me think of
totally.
like antlers and trees that grab you and stuff. Very scary, very very scary.
I picture it being in a movie like maybe this is like a bit of a like Midsummer or like Hereditary vibe, where it's like a no budget, like, you know, curses, are they real? And like the whole time you kind of think maybe it's just like a kind of kitchen sink family drama, and then in the last like 60 seconds they're just like, witchcraft is real, and that's the song that plays.
Yeah, I mean, terrifying. Excellent work. Okay, the clusterfuck theory, Summerholidays versus Punkroutine. He says, tried not to overthink it this week, but I love this album a lot. Kind of just resorted back to the type of music I was making when I first started doing solo stuff. Let's go.
Oh yeah, coming home.
See, this sounds like the things that I was listening to when I thought I was too cool for Refuse.
Yeah, this is unbelievably sad.
Like, this perfectly captures why I didn't like this album. Because I like this instead.
Awesome, holy shit. Oh, this is all I'm going to listen to all week now.
That perfectly captures, like, wow. Way to go. That just made it, helped everything make sense. Maybe it's because we were softened by the witchcraft folk before.
I think that was it. I just needed to be rescued from the darkness.
Very sick. Jordan Lane is a name we haven't seen in a while. Welcome back, Jordan. Thank you so much for giving us. I cannot wait because this is called Jungle Holidays versus Rave Routine. I mean, this is just going to fucking go off. I can guarantee it. Let's go.
Oh my god.
It sounds like the Matrix soundtrack.
What is that like sort of warble bass called?
Oh!
Yo, that is bad. That's a bad bass sound.
Yes!
Holy shit.
I would be tempted to play the whole thing, so I got to stop it there. But oh my god,
yeah! I don't know who's winning between the Jungle Holidays and the Rave Routine, but I feel like that's a real like whoever wins, we win.
That was a thing
situation.
With Refuse too, right? They had an EP where they did a bunch of jungle remixes and stuff, and like had like,
yeah, and there's like beats on that album. That's like kind of part of the thing.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's something that I guess was the shape of punk to come a little bit. If you look at like,
no, totally. Really, like there was not like I mean people were doing it, but that's like that was the most like mainstream kind of band to do it and have people like not be sure what to think, because it really like it's not always elegant. Like quite often it is like violent the way that those sounds end up sort of juxtaposed on the album.
But that's definitely the part that like the normies gloss over. They just like the jock jam parts. But I think that's the coolest part, and Jordan has nailed it. Okay, up next is A Proposition for the Communists, Summerholidays versus Punkroutine. This is Diane Espouse and the Soothing Music Family, celebrating Punk June and collab season, featuring field recordings from each artist's front porch. So this is an 8.5 minute cover, but it starts at the 30-second mark for the sake of the pod. So let's go.
Tired of losing myself to some stupid childhood dream of what I could have been. Money proves the point, and I'm stuck between summer holidays and Punkroutine. Shoot off 100 things to remain more sorry than safe. You see, I only get this chance once, and I just can't let it be.
What's going to happen for the rest of this?
Where does it go? What is the next 7 minutes like?
That reminds me of the artist Castanets, who is on Asthmatic Kitty. Like, there's just, I love these, like, kind of outsider indie folk sounds that are coming up this week because of this song this song is sick. I mean, what a great song.
It is
now.
super sick. Also, what did I think? I thought you were going to say Casta. Who's the Canadian guy? Pedal to the Metal. Is that a guy?
Kazzer?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Kazzer.
No, Castanets is kind of reminds me of that. I don't know if anyone else was into Castanets, but I used to be really into it. It's kind of
I want to hear a mashup of the Turnets.
Or Caliphone is another one, actually. A lot of Ca sounds reminded me of Caliphone, too. Like, just kind of like very spacious folk music.
Baby.
A lot of caca in the things.
In the mix.
Okay. Up next is Ern S. Them with Mysterious Holidays versus Cave Routine. Took to the basement with Mysterious Day Hardcore in mind this week. I don't think I've ever heard hardcore before listening to the pod, so maybe this doesn't count. Please leave feedback in the covers channel. I mean, hearing hardcore for the first time, that's pretty tight to have done through the pod.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool. And you're making what you think. Now, I guess this is a real gatekeeper test, right? Like, I already think that because of this context where you are, who you're with, I mean, I think things are hardcore based on who you're with. So without hitting play, I'm going to go ahead and tell you it is hardcore. Absolutely.
I agree. I'm going to just agree with Josiah's take.
Okay, but we're going to start it at 1 minute, 1 second, and we're going to hear the latter third. I'm trying to do math. How much is left?
No, don't even try. I don't even know how that works.
We're all tired of dying, so sick of not trying. Scared that we might fail, we'll accomplish nothing. We're all tired of dying, so sick of not trying. Scared that we might fail, we'll accomplish nothing. Not even failure. Not even failure. Not even failure. Not even failure. Rather be forgotten and remembered for giving in. 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 Giving in. Giving in. Giving in.
I love that so much. That was so cool.
That was great.
I kind of wish that someone would now take this track when it comes out on Monday on Bandcamp and give it some backing tracks, and let's really put it to the HC test.
Yeah, put it to an Earth Crisis track.
But also, even in this context, it's interesting that you're trying to make hardcore for the first time, and we've established that you have. You're using Refuse as a jumping off point, and what you've done is make something that I think sounds like Tom DeLonge in Feeling This, kind of.
Ooh, interesting.
So it's all happening, really.
Hell yes. Yeah, that was fucking sick.
Whatever I was going for, this wasn't it. I don't know what this is, says Tightrope Tiger about the cover of Summerholidays versus Punkroutine that we're about to hear. Ooh. That riff sounds familiar.
I'm tired of losing myself to some stupid childhood dream of what I could have been. Money was the point of stuff between.
This is incredible. What, like, okay, again, I'm going to want to know, what were you going for? Because I want to know, like, what direction you were headed in that took you down that path.
And it is so cool.
I don't know what that fucking sounds like.
It's cool to, like, go down the wrong path and then still commit to what you've done. Like, I feel like people get lost when it's not what they wanted to do. They get lost and get confused and don't do it. But I'm so glad that you've finished that and that there's still more than 3 minutes left. I want to hear what other kind of cool samples are on it because that's sick as hell. Okay.
Yeah, that was fucking cool.
And it's interesting. That was kind of like a sort of mashup thing, or just kind of at least a mashup of different sounds, if not samples. The next artist is called Girl Talk Reunion with Summertime Holidays. Let's go.
We got more coming right now. There's more coming. We're gonna get a little sort of a session going here.
I'm so glad that someone's idea of a girl talk reunion is so much more shitposty than like I can't really.
It's really very kind to the memory of Girl Talk to be like Girl Talk was sort of like very danceable plunderphonics.
Yeah, like I can't really see marketers and publicists getting groovy at South by Southwest to the Girl Talk reunion Summertime Holidays track. It's way too out there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think there's that gatekeeps Girl Talk. It's good.
Exactly. See, gatekeeping is good. Exclusive rare demo is next. Summer Holidays versus Punkroutine. Again, in kind of like a weirdo Load Records zone. I love it.
Like, it's so interesting that that's where people are taking it. It's like real, like a lot of art this week.
Yeah, we just make everything cool.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
that's true.
And that was like the lamest sentence I ever said. That was like a cool teacher
thing
to say, but it's true.
That's and thinking you could get away with it. That must mean you're pretty cool. I don't make the rules.
Up next is Burnt Jazz Teen Lands, which is Burnt Lands times Teen Jazz. Doomer Holidays versus Drug Routine. Collab Season Forever. Teen Jazz summoning the dank nug-filled Vokes. Burnt Lands riding the flaming stallion from the riff-filled land. Let's fucking go. So is this going to be some kind of like riffy, like Kios or something? Is that how you say that band name? Kios.
I don't know.
Kios.
Are you saying Kios?
Yeah. Kios.
Kios makes it sound like they're like a car.
Yeah, that's what
like
it is,
Scion,
right?
The Kios, yeah.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm into like stoner riffing now.
Dude, you love pro rock? You love the sounds of the desert? We're gonna listen to Dope Smoke and Mars.
But these kind of bands don't usually have like Ian Curtis vocals, do they?
No, you hear like there's like a heavy dose of like, here I'll go, like the full like bad boy version of it. I think is like a bit extreme, but it doesn't sound super out of place to me.
That's because that was cool. Like that made it way better to me. I was expecting something more like rockin'.
Lost control again.
Yeah. I guess it's like a little bit of Jim Morrison too. But
yeah.
That was sick. That sounded so cool.
Man, weed is tight.
Yeah, maybe it is. Fuck. Up next, we really gotta give him some credit because some of them have been shit posts, some of them haven't been, some of them have been serious, some of them haven't been, some of them I haven't even known it's been him. Poli-Sci Alex has been like dropping covers left, right, and center for the last few months. Like
you're right, like very hard. Like you never know what the approach is going to be, and so truly keeping us like. You've got to stay sharp around Poli-Sci Alex.
We really do. So this is Poli-Sci Alex's. It's called "Tired of Dying, Sick of Not Trying." The song was more complicated to wrap my head around than I was expecting, so I focused on just one part. Then I made it political and super lo-fi because that's what punk is about. So a little bit of poly lo-fi Alex, I think, is maybe more apt here. So this is Poli-Sci Alex.
Poly lo-fi. When you really like take the Poli-Sci out of it, it makes it sound like he is polyamorous and then all those other things.
Right. So polyamorous lo-fi. Polyphonic spree kind of comes to mind. But I guess
it's really
not very lo-fi. I guess. Okay, here we go.
A tragic milestone in the battle against the coronavirus. Actually, this is globally. The death toll has now topped a staggering 3 million people. More than 570,000.
Oh, so much tape hiss.
Coronavirus. 20% of the worldwide total.
This is a cool comp this week.
Okay.
Very sick.
I will never know what to expect. That was fucking sick.
That was so sick. And also a little bit scary, like the others as well. You know, there's still a little bit of fear for my life, I think. With that, in a good way.
I'm definitely on the back foot this whole episode, for sure.
Okay. Up next is, to keep it scary and weird and unnerving, Be Left, with retroactively recused and ready to reconcile with all my relations in an RCMP regime W.E. White Paper remix.
He's appeared on stage at We charity events. His wife was an official We ambassador. But the ethics commissioner says the prime minister did nothing wrong. The appearance of a conflict of interest does not constitute a contravention of the act. The conflict must be real. The conflict wasn't real.
Like all-time
CDC
voice.
enough to prompt this
must be real.
I knew your dad. Not recusing myself immediately from the discussion.
Oh, we got some Biden in here.
73.
The nose one has it all.
But Mario Dion found no issue with that family history, even though Justin Trudeau's mother and
I can't really tell if the backing track is this song, but I'm going to go ahead and believe that it is. And either way, I would never doubt the validity of this.
God, would anyone who listens to this pod ever trick us in any way?
I mean, it's very situationist, these things, aren't they? I don't remember what that means.
Highly.
I think my dad took me to see a documentary about the situationist movement at the Blinding Light Cinema in Vancouver when I was a teen, when I was into all this shit. And I was so excited to go, and then it ended up being so boring. But cool that my dad took me. I mean, and that was
that's a really nice thing of him to do.
That was a very sick theater in Vancouver as well. There's not a lot of stuff about it online, the Blinding Light Cinema, but I've seen some cool shit there. I've seen like bands would play in front of their own music videos there, and they used to film a blockbuster movie when after it would come out, and then broadcast the bootleg on the theater screen that evening. Some very sick late Gen X vibe.
But like the Blinding Light Cinema.
It's true. It's true. It was in Gastown. I don't even know what it turned into. Like I can't remember it, but I know there's some people out there who know about it. Up next, Sparkling Water. Shout out to Caleb for making sense of all of these files every week and putting them on Bandcamp. We couldn't do it without you, literally. And yet you've chosen to name your track this. And so I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're going to be able to figure this out. I don't even know how to say it out loud. I guess it's. Oh, I guess. Now I'm seeing what it is. It's a word scramble a little bit. I mean, that's Refused at least.
Okay.
Can you get Summer Holiday Punkroutine out of it? Yeah, I think you can. Okay, let's go. Sparkling Water.
Damn, you're so smart.
I always feel smarter too when I hear some Sparkling Water piano. I'm like,
ooh yeah.
Oh, some birds. Yes. You know some new music shit's about to happen.
When you hear a bird, yeah.
I feel like I need a turtleneck and an arts grant right now.
$100 AA. A accomplish adjusted all and any B been between can't certain chance childhood corrupt could dream dying even fail failure 4 forgotten fucking get giving.
I've cracked it, I think. I think those are all the lyrics of the song put into alphabetical order.
Really?
And then actually that's what the song title is too. Yeah. That is very sick.
Your power of deductive reasoning, that's incredible. I wasn't even thinking. I was just like, cool, I'm vibing. Wow.
I think that's the song plays into alphabetical order. That's fucking sick.
Did anyone else get that listening to this? Like, were you like? I wasn't trying to solve a riddle. I'm just trying to do a podcast.
Well, I was
here.
thinking like, I assume these are the lyrics rearranged, and then my brief time working in an HMV stacking CDs came back to me. I'm pretty good with the old ABCs.
Right? No, you're really good in alphabetical order, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was so cool. Oh my god, that was so sick. What an amazing interpretation. Up next, WPNK interview with Refused guitarist Christopher Steen. It's inspired by Radio FK and its host Ben FK. Do you remember this last week?
Yeah, sick.
So, for those of you who weren't here last week, I mean, it's worth going back. Also because you'll learn about another very sick and important punk song. But this is inspired by Ben FK. Let's go.
Yeah, that was the most important thing in the episode.
Good morning from WPNK, listener-supported Punklick Radio. You're listening to Top of the Punks. Today, as a special guest, we have Christopher Steen, the guitarist for the legendary punk band Refused. Christopher, thanks so much for joining us. You know, Refused was gone for a long time. The band is back now, but in your absence, capitalism and art have coalesced in a lot of different ways. Where do you see your band's music in that? But you guys are on Amazon Music. Well, you know... True. Well, you came ready to do an in-studio performance, right? Well, take it away. Live on 92.4 WPNK, here's Refused.
Okay, that was good. That was a good high concept execution.
There's so many jokes.
Like, deep inside joke. Yeah.
In those 50 seconds, the amount of jokes, the fact that the in-studio session sounded so shitty compared to
yeah, that was a good punchline.
Oh, so good. All right, there's two left.
Wow.
That was beautiful. Penultimately, we're going to go with the new Bill of the nation. It's Bill Verstein of Silverstein. This is called The Shape of
New Bill.
The Shape of Podcast Fans Named Bill to Come, aka Bill Smith, featuring DJ Jazzy Jeff. This is Summertime versus Punkroutine. I feel like my first two covers were just dipping my toes, whereas this cover is very much my arrival to the niche. Shout out to my bandmate for showing me some tips and tricks in Logic. I had a lot of fun with this one. So we're starting at the 155 mark, because of course we are. Let's go.
As you do.
Shout out to the new Bill. I mean, new bills are kind of part of politics as well, in a way.
Yeah.
It's kind of
damn, yeah, this is part of the Refused Party program.
Let's go.
Girls doing likewise, wondering if the person in front of you has ever heard in my eyes. Turn around and see what you're beefing at. It's like punk rock's a natural aphrodisiac. And with the pen and pad I compose this rhyme to hit you and get you equipped for the summertime. Rather be forgotten than remembered for giving in. Rather be forgotten.
Okay, I love that, like, the first few things that Bill did were these, like, I think sort of like stark, intimate kind of, recordings. And then that was just this, like, high concept execution of an idea that was absolutely fucking great.
Nailed it. Absolutely. I think I saw Bill Verstein was like in the stew as well with Silverstein while he was making this. So
they're like working on this. I hope that the Silverstein studio time was paying to get that done. That was fucking great.
All right, finally, we're going to end with, I think, the longest one this week. There has been a trend. I'm not encouraging it necessarily, but there has been a trend. Like, the last 2 or 3 comps have had, like, 50-minute songs on them. And that's, don't do it if you don't have a good idea, obviously. This one's not that. This is 13 minutes, though, and it's Althea later. And she says, I harnessed the power of math for this. And, of course, Unentitled provided the stems. We've already had alphabetical order. I don't think I'm going to be able to figure out whatever the math is on here, but I'm excited to try. So here's Summerholidays versus Punkroutine from Althea later.
Oh, I get it.
Really?
But I won't. Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you or anyone.
Do you actually? Are you lying?
No, I totally get it because it's math. It's a math thing that I get.
Is it like? Are you bluffing? Do you really get it?
Yeah, you know how good at math I am.
Are you? I don't know that. I know you.
You know what's interesting is you don't know if I'm good at math.
No, I know
because we just don't know each other like that well.
I know you're good at finance.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I can't lie to you.
You're bluffing. Okay.
Feels bad.
Don't lie about math. That's one thing that's too far to me.
I think you're right. I recognize that it's not funny.
Okay, there's 12 minutes left after right now. So does that help anyone's math? You're like, oh shit, there's 12 minutes left. Ah, yes, just carry the whatever. I don't know.
And that's Summer Holidays versus Punkroutine.